We're not talking about how'd you vote. We're talking about trust. How do you restore trust and honor? How do we even know anymore?
That's what everybody is asking. That's what those who are conscientious and concerned about America are asking. And those who are so disenchanted and disgusted with Washington, D.C., I don't have that answer. I'm asking the same thing. How do we know that we can trust what's going on in the White House? The White House.
Do you know?
I don't know. I don't know, but I don't feel that some of the things that they are doing are trustworthy.
I have to tell you that every time I bring up your name and somebody says, who's out there? I answer one of two ways. I'm waiting for George Washington to appear. And then it's usually followed by your name. And I say, but I don't know. And it's not I don't know if you're smart enough. I find this insulting. Your kids must find that extraordinarily insulting when they hear that. It's not that you're not capable or anything else. I don't know. I don't know. I can't give my trust out to anybody anymore.
Yeah.
Every time you do, they burn you.
Yeah.
Every time you're like, oh.
It's because we have a fallen world and mankind has fallen, and we can never put, I don't believe that we were created to be able to put our faith wholly, solely, except for our spouse, in another person, certainly not in a politician. I don't believe that, except, looking back on our founding fathers and seeing the sincerity there, the genuine love that they had of country, I don't think in recent days we can find too many of those politicians.
That's why we got to stop looking and stop taking from the barrel and start picking from the tree. Who's your favorite founder?
Well, all of them, because they came collectively together with so much
bullcrap.
Diverse.
Who's your favorite?
So much diverse opinion and so much diversity in terms of belief, but collectively they came together to form this union.
Here?
No, and they were led by, of course, George Washington. So he's got to rise to the top. Washington was the consummate statesman. He served, he returned power to the people. He didn't want to be a king. He returned power to the people. Then he went back to Mount Vernon. He went back to his farm. He was almost reluctant to serve as president, too. And that's who you need to find to serve in government, in a bureaucracy, those who will serve for the right reasons, because they're reluctant to get out there and seek a limelight and seek power. They're doing it for the people. That was George Washington.
He's my favorite for that reason as well. He was the indispensable man. And that's why I say, I'm waiting for George Washington to appear. Someone who doesn't want to serve, but will because he must. And someone who's so beyond question that he can bring people together and say, look, we got to do this. This is going to be hard.
That's exactly what we need to seek in a candidate. Someone, I'll repeat this, almost reluctant to serve, someone who will not prostitute themselves and say what they believe a voter wants to hear at that time in order to get elected, but someone whom the people find and ask, will you sacrifice, will you do this for our country to get us back on the right track?
That is why I think you're on the most admired list. Because some people find you to be that. Because you came out of the blue, and you did serve, you were asked to serve, and you got butchered, and you continually get butchered, and yet you're still going.
Well, let me tell you one thing in that vein. I would be perfectly happy to go back to Wasilla, Alaska with my 5 children and my grandson and raise a happy, healthy family, loving our great outdoors, doing the things that we do in Alaska. But if I believe that in some capacity I can help this great nation, I'm going to be willing to sacrifice and to change some things in my lifestyle in order to serve.
Okay.
That doesn't have to mean, though, top dog. That doesn't have to really entail having any kind of title.
We as a nation must undergo a radical revolution of values. we must rapidly begin to shift from a thing-oriented society to a person-oriented society, when machines and computers, profit motives, and property rights are considered more important than people. The giant triplets of racism, militarism, and economic exploitation are incapable of being conquered. A true revolution of values will soon cause us to question the fairness and justice of many of our present policies. True compassion is more than flinging a coin to a beggar. A true revolution of values will soon look uneasily on the glaring contrast of poverty and wealth with righteous indignation. It will look across the seas and see individual capitalists of the West investing huge sums of money in Asia, Africa, and South America, only to take the profits out with no concern for the social betterment of the countries, and say this is not just. It will look at our alliance with the landed gentry of Latin America and say this is not just. The Western arrogance of feeling that it has everything to teach others and nothing to learn from them is not just. A true revolution of values will lay hands on the world order and say of war, this way of settling differences is not just. This business of burning human beings with napalm, of filling our nation's homes and with orphans and widows, of injecting poisonous drugs of hate into the veins of peoples normally humane, of sending men home from dark and bloody battlefields, physically handicapped and psychologically deranged, cannot be reconciled with wisdom, justice, and love. A nation that continues year after year to spend more money on military defense than on programs of social uplift is approaching spiritual death. And it is a sad fact that because of comfort, complacency, a morbid fear of communism, our proneness to adjust to injustice, the Western nations that initiated so much of the revolutionary spirit of the modern world have now become the arch anti-revolutionaries. And our only hope today lies in our ability to recapture the revolutionary spirit and go out into a sometimes hostile world, declaring eternal hostility to poverty, racism, and militarism. A genuine revolution of values means in the final analysis that our loyalties must become ecumenical rather than sectional. Every nation must now develop an overriding loyalty to mankind as a whole in order to preserve the best in their individual societies. This call for a worldwide fellowship that lifts neighborly concern beyond one's tribe, race, class, and nation is in reality a call for an all-embracing, unconditional love for all men. This often misunderstood and misinterpreted concept, so readily dismissed by the niches of the world as a weak and cowardly force, has now become an absolute necessity for the survival of mankind.